Okay, so a couple games that are on this list are Pokemon Pinball, which is super exciting, the GBA version of Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and even Golden Sun. I mean, heck, there's even something called Pokemon Trade, which makes me wonder if games like Fire Red or Leaf Green or maybe even Ruby are gonna hit the Nintendo Switch Online service. Am I the only one who's super excited for this? And by the way, what GBA games do you want to see? In this video, we are going to talk about everything we know about these new Nintendo Switch leaks about Game Boy Advance games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service. These include games that are coming, how this leak happened, and what future games could look like on the Nintendo Switch Online service. We also have some major news dropping for RPG fans who are excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 just like me. I cannot believe they did this. If you guys enjoy this video, leave a like, it helps the video out when you do, and if you want to follow me on Twitter and help me reach my goal of 900 followers, you can follow me at Roborob93. Without further delay, let's talk about some Nintendo stuff. So the June Nintendo Direct is closing in slowly. It's May in less than 2 weeks, and that means that June is just around the corner, which means the June Nintendo Direct, which will give us a huge load of games and news about the latest Nintendo Switch games to look forward to. With that June Nintendo Direct around the corner, that means Nintendo Switch leak and rumor season is here, a season that has already brought us some interesting things to talk about. If you guys didn't watch my video on this, a couple weeks back it was found that Nintendo renewed some interesting trademarks for Game Boy Advance games. Now this is pretty significant right now with what the current Nintendo Switch leak entails, but at the time it was a small sign that Nintendo was going to do something with Nintendo's online service app. And what they could be doing is adding GBA games to the Nintendo Switch online service app. The reason why people thought this was because trademarks for the Minish Cap and Metroid Zero Mission, two Game Boy Advance games, appeared. Now usually Nintendo tends to do something with these trademarks when they renew them in later services or games. Now for those wondering, why the heck is he going over old news? Don't worry, this is going to fit into this Nintendo Switch leak and make a lot of sense later. It's pretty important. Now fast forward to yesterday at the time of this recording and we got another major Nintendo Switch leak, and this one is pretty significant. So this comes from 4chan, but as I've said before, 4chan is full of a lot of misses, but once in a while you strike gold, and we have hit the mother lode. So get this, the actual Game Boy Advance emulator was leaked for the Nintendo Switch. I first found out about this by Twitter user Trash Bandicoot, who shares a screenshot of the actual emulator. And not just a screenshot of the emulator, but it shows plenty of Game Boy Advance games like Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, Golden Sun, a Pokemon Trade, which makes me think that we're going to be getting some more Pokemon games, and I'll talk about that later, Tactics Ogre, which is very interesting. And the reason why Tactics Ogre being there is interesting is because a trademark for Tactics Ogre was renewed recently as well, so I'm assuming it was for this Nintendo Switch Online Service app that may be coming, or addition I should say. And you can also see under selected features that they have a recording window as well, and suspended points and input replay, features that would be used in the Nintendo Switch Online Service app. But that's not where this crazy Nintendo Switch leak stops, not by a long shot guys. So it seems that they could also be testing other Game Boy Advance games on which a huge long list with so many great games on it has appeared. Like, you guys have no idea how excited I am for this. If all of these games do come true, or even half of it, the service is gonna be fantastic. Now interestingly enough, on this list they have a little game called The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. This is why I mentioned those trademarks in the beginning of this video for The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap. If Nintendo is testing this game on this emulator, the reason why they renewed that trademark was for this online service. The same can be said for Tactics Ogre, but the other games on this list like Mega Man Battle Network, Metroid Zero Mission, which was another trademark renewed as well. There's also Mario vs. Donkey Kong, another game that I personally really wanted on this, Wario 4, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, and just a ton more. Now keep in mind that this is for testing, so some of these could not work on the emulator and won't make the cut. But the fact that all of these games are on the list and has a possibility of being on the Nintendo Switch Online service is just fantastic. I mean, they even have Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. That's a game that I wanted. The GBA version specifically, that is my favorite version for nostalgia purposes. This is just so cool to me. So to recap, trademarks for The Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, Metroid Zero Mission, Tactics Ogre all appeared recently, and not even a month later, the Game Boy Advance emulator for the Nintendo Switch leaks onto 4chan, which is fully playable by the way. Plenty of people are already using it. Now if this doesn't mean Game Boy Advance games are coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service, I really don't know what is. Now there are some interesting things about the screenshots themselves, specifically the Pokemon trading part. My question is does this mean that games like Pokemon Sapphire and Leaf Green, or perhaps Ruby, are gonna hit the Nintendo Switch. On the Nintendo Switch Online service, of course. You could really play a drinking game at this point. I mean, why would they have this on here other than for past Pokemon games? Now, interesting thing about Pokemon is that we should be getting some Pokemon news very soon, or at the least according to Pokédoko 4's website. But do keep in mind that there have been times where they said we're getting Pokemon news and it's just news we already knew. So maybe part of the news of the latest Pokemon news is gonna be for these games coming to the Nintendo Switch Online service. That's speculation, of course, but it's always possible. Now keep in mind that this is a Nintendo Switch leak, so this could end up being fake. That is always a possibility with these things, but there's just so much about these trademarks and then the emulator and all the stuff that it entails that you have to think that Nintendo has to be doing something with Game Boy Advance games. With that being said, Modern Vintage has brought up some interesting points which has casted some doubt on my mind on this. As you can see, the GBA emulator Sloop, which was the name which I forgot to mention, it's called Sloop, has a picture of an Easy Flash, which is basically an emulator for the Game Boy Advance, to put it in simple terms, I guess. We know that Nintendo isn't too keen on emulation, so the fact that this is here is a huge red flag for this Nintendo Switch leak. Now, plenty of Nintendo Switch fans have pointed out that Sloop, the GBA emulator, has traces in its code that indicate that it's being co-developed by Nintendo Europe Research and Development, or NERD for short. According to Oatmeal Dome on Twitter, NERD was responsible for the emulation in Super Mario All-Stars, the Nintendo Switch Online service, and the mini console that Nintendo sells. So if that's the case, you could say that this isn't Nintendo making this emulator for them, this is another company and they're giving it to someone else and they're using the emulator, not Nintendo themselves. And using an Easy Flash would take less money as well. Someone online pointed that out as well. It's about $40. So there is a counter argument to this red flag, but I wanted to give you guys these points and let you make up your mind on yourself and tell me in the comment section below. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to tell me what GBA games you want to see. If you can pick one GBA game, not two, not three, just one, which game would it be? Personally, for me, I'd choose Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I love that game so much. Now, there are a ton of other games, but if it was just one, which is already hard in and of itself, it would be Mario vs. Donkey Kong. And now that we talked about all the info that entails this Nintendo Switch leak, when could we see this revealed? Well, the most likely spot would be the June Nintendo Direct, I think, kind of. Because you see, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 just got a new release date, which I'll talk about that in the next segment, so I'm wondering if Nintendo is going to share more info on other upcoming games and services before that June Nintendo Direct, which E3 is cancelled, and we know that Nintendo does their own thing, and that's why I think there's going to be a June Nintendo Direct. If they do, maybe they'll announce it before the June Nintendo Direct, or wait later into the summer or fall to reveal them. I don't really think Nintendo needs them right now, so they could wait on it. Especially after all the problems they had with the Nintendo 64, I think smoothing out that emulation is probably the best course so people don't have crappy emulation on their Switch. I mean, call me crazy, but I'm willing to wait a couple months for Game Boy Advance games on the Nintendo Switch Online service if it means this emulation is going to be perfect. And as I said before, guys, remember, this Nintendo Switch leak could be fake. Always remember that when talking about these kind of things. Now, if you're not interested in the Nintendo news about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I have a video right here that I did yesterday, which is a fantastic video. You can click the top right corner of the screen to be pointed to that. And if not, let's move on to the last topic of today. So it seems that Nintendo has given us an early surprise. Recently, we have been expecting games to get delayed or moved or whatever Nintendo would do to delay a game to make it released later on. It happened with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 and Advance Wars. And to be honest, I wouldn't doubt if it happens to Bayonetta 3 at this point. But this time, I guess you could call it an undelay. It seems that Xenoblade Chronicles is coming in July 29th to be exact, which is about 3 months away. So recent news for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, a huge JRPG game and one of the Nintendo Switch games that I am looking forward to personally, is not coming in September, which was its release date originally, but in July, which is pretty awesome. I mean, given the current situation in the world, how often do we get a game coming early? And if you couldn't tell by my voice, I am really excited for this. I love RPGs. I love spending a whole bunch of time in them. I love grinding out levels, specifically the first area of it. Tell me in the comment section if you love grinding out the first area of every RPG and just become super powerful right in the beginning of the game. I love doing that. But anyways, I'm getting a little sidetracked here. This brings up a very important question. What about Splatoon 3? Splatoon 3 is a summer game and that's supposed to release in 2022. So is Nintendo gonna delay the game? Well, maybe, maybe not. Personally, I don't think they will. I think they release it in August. I mean, heck, who knows? Maybe Nintendo switch the two around and it will be in September. I mean, XENOBLADES is in July and Splatoon is in September. That's just 1 month after August, which August is still considered summer. So I mean, it's just 1 month later. Now my question is, why did they move it earlier? Was the game just ready, or was there something behind that has to do with Splatoon 3? We're gonna go into the rabbit hole a bit on this, but here's my theory. The original release date was in July for Splatoon 3, but the development for Splatoon 3 was taking longer, so maybe it just wasn't ready for September. Nintendo looked over to another game like XENOBLADES 3, and that was in better development, and they switched those two release dates around. The fact that September is so close to summer, it's not really a long wait for that game. And with Nintendo having so many different games releasing over the next 1 or 2 years, it doesn't really matter, especially with the June Nintendo Direct, which most likely they do have more games planned that they're going to be announcing. So switching around a couple release dates really isn't too much of a big deal, especially if they're pretty close together. Especially with that June Nintendo Direct coming, there's probably going to be that huge holiday game revealed there, and it's probably going to release during the holidays. And for those who think that's a little bit too soon to reveal a game and then release it in the holiday season, remember, XENOBLADES 3 was revealed not too long ago and we're already getting it in 3 months. That means it was in development for quite some time. Now there were some rumblings, and if you're subscribed to my channel and you continue to watch the videos, you probably knew about the voice actress and all the rumors going around, but it was still in development for quite some time and we're already getting a release date for it. But overall, this is some pretty cool stuff, guys. Exciting stuff for me personally, especially with Mega Man Battle Network, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, just so many great games on that list, and of course the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 news. Now those are just my thoughts. Make sure you guys tell me yours. Are you excited as I am for Xenoblades 3 and the GBA stuff? And what GBA games do you want to see on the Nintendo Switch Online service if it does come true? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. And let's talk about some Nintendo news and leaks. And if not, on your way out, make sure you subscribe for more videos and also have that notification bell on. And if you want to support the channel in any other way, there is my Patreon and Twitter account in the pinned comment if you're interested in those. Oh, and also have this donut if you're still sticking around for me rambling. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.